So for context, my husband Adrian, 33M, and I, 30F, have been married for 2 years. We have been together for almost 4 years after we met through a couple of common friends back from college. Both of us went to the same college, but he was a senior in a different department, so we didn't really interact much at the time. We only got in touch later, after our friends set us up. When he was in college, he was dating somebody else as well, so that was another reason that we never spoke, although I definitely did like him and we had a lot of common friends, so we did all hang out together a couple of times, but we never had any one-on-one interactions. He and his ex-girlfriend, Pam, 33F, had been together since middle school and knew that they were pretty serious about each other and were planning on getting married after they graduated from college. He and Pam, well, they were one of those couples that pretty much looked like soulmates, and they had that vibe about them when they were in college as well. After Adrian graduated from college, I did not hear about him for the next couple of years. It wasn't until 7 years ago that I heard from a couple of people from college that he and Pam had broken up. It was pretty big news because everybody in college knew that the two of them were dating and were even planning on getting married. I had actually assumed that they would be married by then, but then, I received the news that they had broken up. Nobody knew the exact reason why, but there were a lot of rumors floating around, none of which I believed. For instance, some people believed that it was Pam who had cheated, and then, other people believed that it was Adrian who had cheated. A lot of them also said that maybe it was Pam who had broken up with Adrian because she wanted better career opportunities and had moved away because of that, and they had been trying the long distance thing for quite some time, but it was not working out, which is why they had decided to go their separate ways. Neither of them cleared any of that up, and I was never able to find out the real reason behind the breakup and just had the rumors to go by. But then, 3 years after the breakup, a couple of my friends told me that Adrian was looking to date again because he was sick of having casual flings and relationships. I was single, I had just ended a 3-month relationship at the time, so they told me that maybe I should start dating him and going out with him instead. My friend knew that I did like him when we were in college but never made a move because he had a girlfriend and he was also not my friend at the time, so I thought it was a nice idea. So after speaking to me about it, our friend set us up together and we went out on our first date. Went really well, and since then, we never looked back. I wanted to know why he had broken up with Pam and stuff, but I did not bring it up for the first couple of dates, and it was only after we had been together for 3 months that I finally brought it up with him, since I knew that it would be a sensitive topic for him. And it was then that he finally confirmed one of the rumors, that they had woken up because Pam had moved to New York for medical career opportunities. She wanted to work in environmental law and she was getting better prospects out of state, so she had moved away. They had tried their hand at the long distance thing for almost a year, but it was just not working out and they were not clicking anymore. He did not want to leave because everything that he wanted was there. He loved his hometown and all his friends, his family, and his job. Everything was based out of here. He could not sacrifice everything for Pam and just leave. And he did not think that it would be fair of him to expect Pam to give up her new job and new opportunities to come back to him. The two of them gave it a lot of thought, and after that, they decided that it would be better for them to part ways. After that, they tried to remain friends for a while and even promised that they would visit each other when the holidays came around. It just did not work out for them because they were still in love with each other, so they could not be friends and move on from each other. They had to make the heartbreaking decision of cutting each other out of their lives altogether, after being together for so many years. It was a really sad story and he even cried while telling me about it. He told me that after that, he had tried to date other women, but it's just not the same anymore. So for almost 2 years, he did not go out on any dates with anybody and just tried to focus on himself and move on from what his life had been for the past couple of years. But after that, when he finally felt ready to move on, he was only going out with women who wanted something casual, or were not serious about relationships, and that's just not the way he works. He had been talking about this to a couple of his friends from college, who happened to be my friends as well, and they had decided to set us up together. He told me that he really liked me and he wanted to take this relationship ahead, so I was really happy about it, and that's how we ended up together. After that one conversation, we pretty much stopped talking about Pam because I knew that he was really touchy about that part of his life and I did not want to pick at that wound. It would take a long time to heal, but I decided that I really liked him and I wanted to be with him, so I was ready to accept his past as well. And if he was with me, there was no way that he would still be in love with Pam. Or at least that's what I had assumed at the time. We have spent the last 4 years together, 2 years of dating, and then 2 years of marriage. Things have been great between us, we have never had any major issues, and I really believe that he loved me. We were always honest and transparent with each other, and obviously, like any other couple, we did have a couple of hiccups here and there, but it was nothing too serious. We have never had a snag as major as this. Because I had never expected him to lie to me. I knew for a fact that he had blocked Pam out of his life after they had broken up and they had figured out that they could not make their friendship work either. I was not insecure about her in the slightest because he never even talked about her, and only mentioned her very rarely, and that was just when he was talking about his childhood and stuff, or telling me stories about his past. He would always bring her up in a very casual way, with absolutely no trace of emotions, so I had no reason to suspect that maybe he still had a thing for her. Of course, I knew that it was a sensitive area of conversation for him, so I would not bring her up or try to dig into his past and talk about his feelings about her, since I also knew that he was over her. I had assumed that because he was the one who had proposed to me and stuff, if he was asking me to marry him, it obviously meant that he was over his ex. What I'm trying to say is, there were absolutely no signs that could have prepared me for this. But anyway, coming to what had happened, a couple of days ago, he told me that he was going to have to go out of state to New York for a couple of days because he had been offered a new job there by one of his old coworkers who had started his own business, and he wanted to check out what the deal was and see if he could work something out there. And I agreed that he should check it out because he had been unemployed for the past few months and I was getting worried about him. He had quit his job about 3 months ago, saying that he was burnt out and he wanted something new. I thought it was kind of weird because he claimed that he loved working at the company that he used to be employed at previously and he got along well with his coworkers, his boss loved him, and he was even in the works for the promotion. But he told me that he was just sick and tired of working in the same place and doing the same things over and over again, and the promotion would just mean that he would be stuck there forever. He wanted to do something before he was too old to explore, and I honestly just thought that it was a midlife crisis or something. But I made enough money, so I would be able to support both of us financially for a couple of months, so I told him that I was fine with him not working for a couple of months and trying to figure out what he wanted to do. Even though he was in his 30s and it was kind of late for that. But I did not say that to him because I wanted to be supportive. Anyway, for the past 3 months, he had just been sitting at home and doing nothing. He had told me that he was going to start looking for other business opportunities and trying to work something out, but so far, I had not seen him doing anything productive. Every day I would come back home from work and he would just be sitting on the couch and watching some mindless movie or TV show. It was kind of getting on my nerves and I wanted to say something about it. I had even tried to prompt him into doing something a couple of times, but he just told me not to rush him and that he needed some time off. I was trying to be supportive and not fight with him because I could tell that he was going through something. But then, I did not know how much more of this I could take anymore, so when he told me he was going to New York for a business opportunity, I was actually really happy and I totally forgot about the Pam thing. I forgot that she lives in New York, and I really agreed to let him go. I was someone who paid for his flight tickets as well, which is pretty stupid, now that I think about it. Unfortunately for him, and fortunately for me, he had made a little mistake, and I have been able to uncover the truth about why he was going to New York, and it had nothing to do with any business opportunity of any sort. And now, I have given him an ultimatum, but unfortunately, I'm getting a lot of flack for it because apparently, people think I'm being too hard on him. So he had to return his work laptop, and he had never bothered to purchase a personal one. So we were sharing my laptop, and he would occasionally use it for things, so he had logged into his email account on my laptop as well. And a couple of days ago, pretty much the morning of his flight, he had been using my laptop for something and then he forgot to switch accounts. So when I opened the email app, I could see his emails. And I was about to switch accounts so I could get back to my work, but then, something caught my eye. And I noticed that the most recent email that he had received was from Pam. And when I opened it, my worst fears came true. She had sent an email saying that she couldn't wait to see him and she would be waiting at the airport for when his flight landed. I was so confused and heartbroken that I didn't even know what to do that instant, but then I recovered from that shock and I started reading that email thread, going back to the older ones. I realized that around 3 months ago, she had first reached out to him and told him that she had been diagnosed with lung cancer a couple of years ago, and the chances of making it seemed bleak because she was not responding well to the chemo. She said that she had tried to keep it from everybody because she didn't want anybody to worry about her, but now that cancer had spread, and it had advanced to the more extreme stages, she did not know how long she had and she wanted to speak to him and make things right with him before she moved on. That was her first email, which had been sent just a few weeks before he decided to quit his job and the decline of his mental health started. She said that she couldn't travel to come meet him, but he could come to her instead, and that's what she wanted him to do, just one last time, so they could get together and make things right between the two of them. She also mentioned that she was aware of the fact that he was married and that I would probably not approve of this, but even then, she wanted him to come up with some lie and visit her because that was her one last wish. He had not replied to that email for a couple of weeks, but last month, he finally responded to it, and he told her that he was going to visit her. He just needed some time to arrange everything. And after that, they exchanged a couple of emails where they talked about how much they missed each other. It was nothing romantic, they mostly just talked about what they had been up to in their lives and said that they missed talking to each other. But even though it was not some declaration of love, it was enough to make me feel bad. I was mostly upset because I counted this as a huge betrayal of my trust, since I was the one who had booked him the flight tickets and had shown so much faith in him. I had never even expected that he would lie to me about something so big. If he had just spoken to me just once, and said that Pam was sick and he wanted to visit her, I probably would have found it a bit unsettling at first, but I would come around because she is dying, and I wouldn't have held that against him because, at one point of time, they were a huge part of each other's lives and were even looking forward to getting married. I knew the kind of place that she held in her heart, and I might have respected him if he had been upfront about what he was planning to do, but sneaking around behind my back, telling his ex that he missed her and stuff, that was just ridiculous and very disrespectful to me. I might have been able to accept it if he had told me, honestly, That he wanted to see her one last time and fulfill her dying wish. But lying to me and visiting her? That was just unforgivable for me. And moreover, I knew for a fact that he had quit his job because of this reason, because he was upset that Pam was suffering. That was the reason he had been acting so depressed, and it finally all made sense. I found it insane that he could not even trust me with this bit of information, since it was so important for me to know these things. I was his wife, I had been with him for 4 long years. I think that was worth something. I think it was worth telling me the truth. Most of all, I was really upset that I had been making sure that I worked twice as hard to make sure that everything was fine and we were able to maintain the lifestyle even though only one of us had a job now. And he had just been sitting at home and moping about his ex, and doing nothing while I slogged day and night to make our life better. I was just really angry and hurt at that moment, and I decided not to let this go. I was most certainly going to confront him about this and make him pay because, at that moment, I did not care about whether Pam was sick or healthy or whatever. I was just upset about what he had done to me, and I was going to make sure that he suffered the consequences. I knew that his flight must have landed by the time that I found out about those emails, so I decided to contact him almost immediately. I called him up and I half expected him not to answer the phone call, but to my surprise, he picked it up. I guess he probably did not want me to be able to figure out that he was with Pam and doing something suspicious. I decided to lead by asking him where he was, and if his flight had landed safely, trying not to give away the hurt and anger in my voice. And he told me that his flight had landed completely safely. He was about to meet with his coworker, grab lunch and drinks, and after that, he would get back in touch with me to let me know how the meeting went. He was acting as normally as he possibly could and was pretending as if there was not a single lie that he was telling me. I was heartbroken and I decided to ask him if there was anything that he wanted to tell me, giving him an opportunity to come clean to me, but even then he did not do so. He decided to cover up even more, and he told me that everything was completely fine with him and he did not understand why I was being so paranoid. So that's when I finally decided that I was not going to put up with this, and I told him that I had gone through his emails and I knew where he was and what he was doing. For a couple of minutes, there was silence at the other end, and after that, he hung up. He didn't even say anything or bothered to explain, he just disconnected the call and that was it. I tried calling him back a couple of times after that, for about 10 to 15 minutes, but he did not answer any of those calls and turned his phone off. He was probably panicking, I don't know exactly what he was up to. But his not answering my calls just pissed me off even more. So I decided to send him a message, and I told him he has 2 days to come back and give me a valid excuse if he can even come up with one, which I highly doubt he would be able to. Or else, everything that he owned would be out on the curb, including him. Because I was not going to allow a liar and a cheat to live with me, and that was for sure. I only ever gave him those 2 days because somewhere, deep down, I was hoping that he might have a reasonable excuse for all of this, but now, I'm not so sure anymore. Since now, it has been 3 days since that phone call, and I still haven't been able to sort things out with him. In fact, I think things have gotten even worse than it was back then, because now, all of a sudden, all our friends are also involved in this. Apparently, they had known about all of this all along and kept it all a secret from me. I feel betrayed, and I just don't know what to do or how to feel about any of this. After I sent that message, he did not respond to me for a couple of hours more, and then he finally called me back really late at night. I answered that call, and we spoke. He told me that he knew that I would not understand why he wanted to visit Pam, and that's why he had decided to keep it a secret from me. He told me that she had been suffering for a really long time, and she hadn't even told him about it until the very last moment. So he had to make it count now because they were not sure how much time she had left, and he really just wanted to spend some time with her before something happened. And she was the one who had said that it was her last wish, so this was the one final time that they would be meeting each other, and he didn't want to tarnish it by fighting with me or making me feel upset, because he only wanted to have good memories of the last few moments that he would get to spend with Pam. And that's why he had lied to me, never bothered to tell me the truth about why he was heading to New York. He confessed to me that he should have told me the truth about why he had quit his job, and it was obviously because he was torn up about what was happening to Pam, because in spite of what had happened in the past, he still had a soft corner for her, and they had spent so much time together. It was just difficult for him to accept that she would not be around anymore. So he was having a tough time with it, and he knew that he should have talked to me about it, but he was just not sure if I would understand, and he did not want to fight with me, especially not when he was in such a delicate stage of his life. He told me that our common friends knew all about it, but he had made them promise not to tell me about it because he did not want me to worry or feel insecure because he was going to visit Pam, and unfortunately, I had to find out in this way. He told me that he had planned on telling me the truth after he had come back from his visit, but unfortunately, that's not how it happened, and in a hurry, he had forgotten to log out of my laptop. But I told him that none of this mattered because in the end, he had still lied to me and betrayed my trust, and I stood by what I had said. I told him that he had to come back within 2 days, and I was not going to let him spend 1 week there, like he had initially planned to, and he told me that it would not be possible because Pam really wanted him by her side at this time, because even though she had her family, she did not have many friends and she wanted him to be there for her. He keeps telling me that it's her last wish, and he really wants to be able to fulfill it, because he can't bring himself to decline when she is so weak and fragile already. Our friends believe that I should give him some time because even they keep insisting that it's Pam's last wish and I should have the heart to let him fulfill it because after that, they are probably never going to meet each other ever again and I should not try and make this into something ugly. They keep trying to convince me that they are being there for each other as friends, and this is completely platonic, so I have nothing to be insecure about. And I don't know how to feel, they are making me feel like I'm the bad guy for being hurt about this. Everybody, including Adrian, is trying to convince me that me telling him that he has to be back home in 2 days and that he can't spend the week with Pam is really heartless of me, but I don't know if I'm really asking for too much. I'm really confused so, Ida for telling my husband that he cannot fulfill his ex's dying wish and spend the week with her? Update 1. So, I've been going through the comments and most of you think that I should leave him, I should not even give him one chance. But I really love him, I don't know if that's the right thing for me to do right now. And regardless of whatever he has done, I still want to talk to him one last time and clear the air between us. So I told him that I was going to give him one last chance to explain himself, but for that, he had to take the very next flight back home. I've gone through all the schedules and stuff and told him which one he has to take. I told him that if he didn't come back home today itself, we were done with it. I'm never going to speak to him again. I'm gonna file for a divorce immediately. And I told him that I'm very serious about this, so there is no way that he can talk to his friends about this, and convince them to change my mind. My mind is made up, nobody can change it. I sent this message to him a couple of hours ago and he still hasn't responded to me yet. The flight that I was talking about leaves in 2 hours, and I'm really nervous about what he's going to decide. Either way, I have a bad feeling about this. I don't know what's gonna happen and honestly, I have given up all hope. I have blocked all our friends who were trying to get me to change my mind and convince me that he was not wrong for what he did because honestly, if they had my best interests at heart, they would never try to do what they did and manipulate me like that. It's very clear to me that they are Adrian's friends and after that, mine. And even that's a huge maybe for me right now because after what they did, I don't think I will ever be able to trust them again. At least I am married to Adrian, so I can still think about trying to forgive him and make it work, but even that's a long shot. But with my friends? There's no chance that I will try to fix my relationship with them. I can't forgive them, and I cannot ever trust them again. And if Adrian does not come back today, the same goes for him as well. I've already spoken to my lawyer and I'm just waiting to see what happens now. Update 2, I just received a message from Adrian. The flight that he was supposed to take to come back home already took off a couple of hours ago, and I did not hear from him. And he texted me, half an hour after that flight had taken off, and told me that he was not coming back home today and that he was really sorry, but he was going to spend the week with Pam and I could believe whatever I wanted to. But right now, his priority was his dying friend and not me. And if I couldn't understand that, it just meant that I was heartless. So that's great, he's trying to manipulate the situation and put this all on me. Trying to make me look like the bad guy when it was he who had lied to me. Well, then, two can play this game. I have spoken to my lawyer and have given him the green light to go ahead with the divorce proceedings. So he's going to file the petition first thing tomorrow morning and after that, we are going to be done. I feel bad about it, honestly, I did not see this coming at any point. But whatever, he's going to be the one who loses most because I don't think any court or mediator is going to look kindly upon what he has done. Nobody apart from his friends and family is going to have any sympathy for him because I spoke to a couple of my friends and my parents and they are all on my side. And I think any reasonable person would be, as well, which is something that you guys in the comment section have already shown me. I have already started packing his things and putting them into boxes, so I can leave them on the curb, like I had promised. Because no matter what, he is definitely not setting foot into this house ever again. I'm gonna make sure of that. Update 3, hi, so I don't think that Adrian is going to come back anymore. A couple of days ago, he showed up at the house and he discovered that all his stuff was sitting outside on the curb. He's lucky that nothing went missing, but even then, he had the audacity to come up to the door and start screaming at me. I did not even bother to open the door and I told him that if he did not leave, I would call the cops on him. The house belonged to me, I did not want him living with me anymore. So I was officially kicking him out and he told me that he was fine with it because anyway, he had no intention of living with me anymore because I was a heartless and emotionless piece of work and he regretted marrying me. He told me that he was going to gather all of this and go back to living with Pam so that at least he would get to spend some time with somebody whom he actually loved and who loved him back. That really stung because obviously, that meant that they still had feelings for each other, and I had just wasted the past 4 years of my life with this guy. But you know what, I'm over it. The divorce has been filed, and now he can do whatever he wants, it doesn't matter to me anymore. I don't think he's going to contest the divorce or try to get anything out of it because like he said, he made it very clear that he is in love with Pam and is going to go back to her. So he's probably going to try and wrap it up as soon as possible. And that works for me since I don't want to drag this out either. I just want to move on with my life and that's what I'm going to do. From now on, my goal is to improve myself and I'm not going to keep in touch with anybody who has hurt me in the past. I'm done with this.